For most people, a resume is just a dry list of skills and experience. But some turn it into a stand-up routine, a sci-fi novel, and a social experiment all at once. Today, I'm bringing you 101 of the most absurd, hilarious, and suspicious things people have actually written on their resumes. After this, you'll either lose all faith in humanity or start applying for jobs just for the fun of it. 1. An IT applicant who was 28 years old boldly listed 20 years of experience. When the hiring manager questioned how that was possible, the guy, without blinking, explained he counted his 8 hours of sleep each night as passive systems analysis. I guess he dreams in Python. 2. A candidate for a zoo job listed fluent in squirrel as a core skill, detailing his bi-weekly consultations with a local rodent consortium for stock tips. You have to wonder, if your squirrel broker is that good, why are you applying for a job that involves shoveling anything? 3. To explain a 5-year employment gap, a woman stated she was the project lead on a classified off-world colonization initiative. When HR asked for references, she replied her entire team was cryogenically indisposed for the journey. You can't even get a bad reference out of that. Checkmate. 4. One man's resume listed a truly unique previous job title, Professional Phantom, with duties including spectral chain rattling and advanced moaning. The manager's note on the application read, "Candidate seems overqualified for creating a sense of dread in our already soul-crushing warehouse environment." He got the point, at least. 5. A background check revealed a curious detail about one applicant. He claimed to have graduated from a major state university 3 full years before the school was even built. According to him, his diploma was part of the Founder's Season Pass package, came with a hard hat, a shovel, and full access to the construction site. A true early adopter. 6. Under awards and accolades, a candidate proudly listed Time Magazine's Person of the Year for 2006. He nestled it right between Employee of the Month at a tire shop and a high school track participation trophy. That's not a lie, that's weaponized literalism, and it's a power move. 7. A man applying to a high-end restaurant called himself a culinary warlock, whose secret was a potion of deliciousness brewed only under a full moon. The manager politely declined, stating the restaurant's insurance policy, sadly, did not cover sorcery-related kitchen fires. A perfectly reasonable defense. 8. In the skills section of a financial analyst's resume, next to Microsoft Excel, a candidate listed immune to government mind control rays. He claimed his special hat was made from a proprietary blend of tinfoil and shredded tax code pages. Tinfoil hat sold separately, batteries not included. 9. One man's resume claimed he single-handedly averted the Y2K apocalypse as a freelance project. His asking price for saving modern civilization wasn't a parade or a statue. It was a mid-level management position with a decent 401k and dental coverage. Honestly, that feels like a bargain. 10. A candidate at a tech company claimed he invented the internet. The cosmic joke! The senior engineer interviewing him had actually worked with Vint-Cerf, one of its real creators. That interview was so awkward, it probably set back internet speeds in the entire building by 20 years. 11. Under the special skills section of an application for an accounting job, a candidate listed ninjutsu. The listed abilities were stealth, infiltration, and silent movement. The hiring manager noted these were, admittedly, the exact skills required to successfully sneak out of the office at 4:55 p.m. on a Friday. 12. You ever see confidence so blinding it creates its own gravity? A man applying to be a barista claimed he was the former CEO of Starbucks. His proof? A fully stamped and completed loyalty card, which he presented during the interview, calling it his golden parachute. You can't make this stuff up. 13. One applicant insisted he was a Nobel Prize winner, not in peace or literature but in physics. His groundbreaking contribution to science? Conclusively proving that a dropped piece of toast will land butter side down 99% of the time. He was applying for a job in a cafeteria. 14. To explain a 2-year gap, one applicant simply wrote, CIA covert operations. He claimed he could kill a man with a paperclip, but for national security reasons, couldn't elaborate. The manager figured his skills in extracting sensitive information would at least make him a valuable asset around the office water cooler. 15. An alarming number of people claim a degree from Hogwarts, but one applicant for an HR position stood out. He claimed a master's in the dark arts. I mean, I've had some bad experiences with human resources before, but that feels like a particularly aggressive conflict resolution strategy. 16. Here's a skill you didn't know your IT department needed. Certified exorcist. An applicant insisted his experience in casting out demonic entities made him uniquely qualified to deal with printers that refused to connect to the network. And you know what? He's not entirely wrong. 17. One applicant listed his previous employer as Dunder Mifflin Paper Company. Bold. But then he listed his direct supervisor as Michael Scott and provided a phone number. Out of sheer curiosity, the recruiter called. It went straight to a voicemail of a man screaming, "That's what she said." 18. Under reason for leaving last position, an applicant wrote, abducted by aliens for a mandatory intergalactic cultural exchange program. He noted the experience gave him valuable insights into advanced probing techniques, which he felt were directly transferable to a role in market research. 19. All right, let's be honest, have you ever slightly exaggerated a hobby? This guy went for the gold, literally. He claimed to be an Olympic gold medalist in competitive speed walking. Backwards. He was applying to be a mall security guard, which, when you think about it, almost makes a terrifying amount of sense. 20. A candidate for a medical assistant role claimed to have extensive experience in neurosurgery. When pressed for details, he admitted his entire surgical career was based on the board game Operation, but insisted he had a 100% survival rate, unless the batteries ran low. 21. One applicant, aiming for a customer service job, listed fluent in Klingon. He argued it showed his dedication to handling difficult and aggressive negotiations. You have to admit, telling an angry customer, "Perhaps today is a good day to die," is certainly one way to de-escalate a call. 22. A graphic designer's resume featured the impressive title, Personal Portrait Artist to Queen Elizabeth II. The recruiter investigated. The man's portfolio consisted entirely of doodles of the Queen's corgis on bar napkins. He called the collection a candid, ongoing series capturing the royal spirit. 23. The single best reason for leaving ever written has to be faked my own death to get out of attending the annual company-wide strategic planning retreat. That's not a lie, it's a confession. And frankly, it's the most relatable thing I've read on any resume ever. Hire this person immediately. 24. One applicant listed his current role as beta tester for a future version of humanity, claiming to be a time traveler sent back to observe our primitive corporate rituals. His cover letter even included a scathing critique of the company's third-quarter financial performance from the year 2047. 25. In the hobbies and interests section, one applicant simply put, dragon slaying. He was applying for a job as a risk management consultant. When the interviewer asked about it, he just sighed and said, "You wouldn't believe the amount of liability paperwork involved in that line of work." 26. An applicant for a data entry role listed human photosynthesis as a special skill, arguing it would save the company money on lunch breaks and lower their carbon footprint. He also requested the office thermostat be set to tropical rainforest for peak productivity. 27. Under work experience, a man listed his previous job as architect within the Matrix. His duties included reality code maintenance and debugging spoon physics. When asked why he left, he calmly explained he finally took the red pill, which led him to discover his true passion, middle management in the logistics industry. 28. One of the most specific job titles I've ever seen has to be Canine Ghostwriter. This applicant claimed to have authored several best-selling dog autobiographies, translating barks and whimpers into compelling narratives. He was applying to be a technical writer, arguing if he can make a golden retriever sound articulate, he can make any software manual readable. 29. You think your commute is bad? A candidate for a sales job listed his primary mode of transport as a fully licensed, privately owned unicorn. He claimed it was carbon neutral and excellent for navigating rush hour traffic. The hiring manager noted his application was, unfortunately, covered in an unidentifiable and very persistent glitter. 30. Under education, a candidate claimed to hold a PhD in nap-based problem-solving from an online university he founded himself. His doctoral thesis was apparently on the optimal pillow firmness for achieving subconscious breakthroughs. He was applying for a job as a lead project strategist. You have to admit, he's onto something. 31. This one is a masterpiece of internal contradiction. An applicant for a firefighter position listed his primary hobby as artisanal pyrotechnics. He described himself as a fire enthusiast with a deep passion for observing combustion in uncontrolled environments. That's not a hobby, that's just confessing to arson on a job application. 32. The reason for leaving section is a goldmine of creativity. One applicant simply wrote, "Forced relocation due to entering the Federal Witness Protection Program." He then added, "Previous employer can't be contacted for obvious reasons. They think I'm dead." You can't even run a background check on that. It's the perfect crime. 33. An applicant for a delivery driver position claimed to have an internal, organically grown GPS system with real-time traffic updates provided by psychic intuition. He said his only weakness was large magnetic fields and that he occasionally had to reboot after a strong cup of coffee. I'm not sure I'd trust him with a pizza. 34. The tech industry has confusing terms, but this is next level. An older gentleman applying for an IT job listed his top skill as cloud computing. In the interview, he clarified this meant he was certified in spotting cirrus, cumulus, and angry rain clouds that look like my ex-wife. 35. On his resume, under honors and awards, a man listed winner of a heated argument I had with my own GPS. He claimed it demonstrated his tenacity and superior negotiation skills, though he admitted the GPS still holds a grudge and keeps sending him past his ex's house. 36. Everyone pads the languages section, but one applicant boldly claimed fluency in baby. Not baby talk, but pre-verbal infant communication. He argued he could mediate disputes in daycares and was applying for a corporate mediator role, because if you can handle two toddlers fighting over a block, you can handle a hostile merger. 37. A candidate for a city planner role boasted 15 years of experience in metropolitan infrastructure development and disaster management. It turned out his entire career was just playing the video game SimCity. When asked about his biggest professional failure, he spoke solemnly of the Great Llama Uprising of 2003. 38. One candidate, trying to prove his dedication, stated he does not require sleep due to a rare genetic mutation, and offered to work 24/7 for a modest 20% salary increase. The HR department politely declined, suspecting he was either lying or would eventually short-circuit over the office coffee machine. 39. This one takes some serious nerve. An applicant for a marketing job listed an award on his resume, Pre-Hired Employee of the Year 2024, from the very company he was applying to. He told the interviewer he was simply streamlining the process and saving them paperwork for when they inevitably hired him. 40. A woman explained a 3-year employment gap by claiming she was an aquatic architect in the lost city of Atlantis. Her reason for returning to the surface world? The commute was an absolute nightmare. The pressure was intense, and the HR department kept replacing chairs with coral reefs. 41. The most regal resume I've ever heard of came from a man applying to be an assistant manager at a fast food joint. He claimed he was the deposed prince of a small, ungoogleable European nation. His listed reason for seeking employment? His royal duties now primarily involved sovereign oversight of the deep fryer. 42. One candidate for a therapist position listed her previous role as Taylor Swift's personal emotional support professional. Her primary duty, she claimed, was telling the superstar, "It's not you, it's them," after every breakup, giving her over a decade of experience in high-stakes crisis management. 43. You ever wonder what to put in the special abilities section? One man, applying for a data entry job, listed prehensile feet. Just think about that for a second. When the confused hiring manager asked why that was relevant, he claimed it improved his typing speed by 30% because he used a second keyboard on the floor. 44. This one is a masterclass in honesty through lies. Under the skill expert in delegation, a candidate elaborated, "For instance, this entire resume and cover letter were outsourced to my mother." The best part? He listed his mom as a professional reference to vouch for his exceptional delegation skills. A perfect lazy loop. 45. It takes a real villain to invent the reply all button, but it takes a genius to put it on a resume. Applying for a job in internal communications, one man proudly claimed it as his greatest contribution to corporate chaos. He wasn't apologizing for it, he was treating it like a portfolio piece. 46. The company culture was apparently a little too cold for him. That was the reason one man left his previous job as chief morale officer for a colony of Adelie penguins in Antarctica. His performance review cited complaints about the lack of verbal feedback and an excessive amount of raw fish in the employee break room. 47. A man applied for a head of security role claiming to be the reincarnation of Billy the Kid. He listed his transferable skills as rapid conflict resolution and proven success in evading federal authorities. His background check, however, only showed a single prior arrest for shoplifting beef jerky from a gas station. 48. Some people embellish their own skills. This guy embellished his dogs. He claimed to have co-authored a peer-reviewed paper with his golden retriever, Professor Fluffington, on the sociological impact of squeaky toys. And you have to ask yourself, who are you more impressed with in that scenario, the man or the dog? 49. An applicant for a cybersecurity firm listed his top skill as experienced safecracker, arguing that a digital firewall was just a safe for nerds. He completely failed the technical exam, but according to the manager's report, he did successfully steal all the high-quality pens from the interview room on his way out. 50. Forget Six Sigma. This applicant was a master of the office vending machine. He claimed he could retrieve stuck snacks using a combination of precise percussive maintenance and sheer force of will. He even included a KPI, a 98% success rate in liberating trapped bags of potato chips, a true office hero. 51. One candidate for an internal auditor position swore he had the power of invisibility. It made him, in his words, uniquely qualified to observe workplace inefficiencies without disrupting the natural workflow. The manager's final note on the resume just said, "Great skill, but he didn't show up for the interview." Or maybe he did. 52. The languages section is always a minefield. An applicant confidently listed Java as a language he was fluent in. When the interviewer started asking technical questions, the man looked confused and began talking passionately about his backpacking trip through Indonesian coffee plantations. Close, but no cigar. 53. In his cover letter, a man applying for a junior marketing role wrote, "As you and I both know from our time together in the Bilderberg Group." The audacity. He went on to say that maintaining global secrecy has prepared me for the confidential nature of this position. He tried to create a conspiracy with a hiring manager. 54. This one is just hilariously bleak. Under hobbies and interests, a man simply wrote collecting friends, not the TV show. When the interviewer asked him to elaborate, he sighed and quietly said he was still working on starting his collection. That's a level of honesty that deserves a job out of sheer pity. 55. Let's end with the ultimate flex. Previous job title: God. Reason for leaving: decided it was time to take a more hands-on approach. He was applying for the CEO position at a struggling startup. When the board asked what his first move would be, he pointed at a flickering fluorescent and said, "Let there be light." 56. Sometimes a lie is so specific it becomes art. One man applying for a warehouse job claimed he was a level 80 paladin, with a specialty in heavy lifting and divine protection. His cover letter even offered to bless the forklifts for increased operational efficiency. You have to admire the commitment to the character. 57. One applicant's entire work history was just one entry: professional stand-in. Not for celebrities, but for mannequins. He claimed 5 years of perfecting the 1,000-yard department store stare and judgmental head tilts at customers. He was applying for a job in quality assurance. 58. This one started with a bold claim: "My last boss was a literal vampire." An applicant explained his previous manager, hissed at garlic, was strangely unavailable during daylight hours, and had a very unhealthy obsession with quarterly blood drives. He left, he said, because of the toxic work culture and a complete lack of soul. 59. A woman listed parallel universe negotiation as a key skill. She insisted she had successfully brokered peace treaties in 3 alternate realities where squirrels had achieved sentience. When the interviewer asked for proof, she just deadpanned: "In the universe I just came from, this interview went much better for you." 60. Under the awards section, a candidate for an electrician role proudly listed, "Survived a direct lightning strike." He argued it gave him an intimate and profound understanding of electrical currents. I mean, what do you even say to that? That's not a skill, that's a superpower earned the hard way. CO or 61. His greatest professional accomplishment? According to his resume, one man successfully taught a parrot to conduct performance reviews. The parrot, he claimed, had a firm but fair management style, but was eventually fired for excessive use of inappropriate language in the workplace. And be honest, wouldn't you hire him just for that story? 62. A candidate for a park ranger position claimed to be raised by a family of friendly Bigfoot. He said it gave him unparalleled knowledge of forest ecosystems and advanced wilderness survival techniques, like how to communicate with grunts and where to find the best berries. His main weakness? A deep-seated fear of blurry cameras. 63. One applicant for a project manager job listed time travel as a proficiency. He explained he had already completed the project 3 weeks ago in a future timeline and was just formally submitting the paperwork now for linear-minded colleagues. He even offered spoilers on who was going to steal whose lunch from the office fridge. 64. The most confusing hobby I've ever seen listed was competitive sighing. The applicant claimed to be the regional champion for 3 years running. His demonstration sigh was so crushingly heavy that a potted plant in the corner gave up and fell over. 65. The commute from Atlantis is apparently a nightmare. At least that's what one woman cited as her reason for leaving her previous role as an aquatic architect. She also complained that the intense pressure was getting to her and the constant humidity was a disaster for her hair. Even in a mythical lost city, you can't escape workplace annoyances. 66. An applicant for a chemistry lab assistant position listed his primary qualification as alchemist. He claimed he could turn lead into gold, but only if the quarterly budget allowed for the purchase of a philosopher's stone. He also suggested he could transmute the office's bad coffee into something drinkable. Now, that is a valuable skill. 67. Some lies are just a flex. A man applying for a pilot's license test claimed his previous flight experience was piloting the Millennium Falcon. His listed reference? A Wookiee named Chewbacca. The FAA examiner noted that while his flight knowledge was unconventional, his ability to make whooshing sounds with his mouth was truly exceptional. 68. This one is a real head-scratcher. An applicant listed his previous employer as the Illuminati. His reason for leaving? Creative differences over the direction of global shadow governance. He said he was looking for a role with more transparency and fewer secret handshakes. He was applying to be a public relations officer. 69. How do you explain a criminal record on an application? One man, convicted of cat burglary, listed his crime under relevant experience. He described it as advanced hands-on experience in residential security system analysis and nocturnal stealth operations. He was applying for a job as a home security system installer. 70. A candidate listed a single profound weakness on her resume: Kryptonite. Just that one word. She was applying for a job at a jewelry store. When the interviewer pointed out the irony, she simply smiled and said, "Everyone has their vulnerabilities. I prefer to be upfront about mine." 71. One man, applying for a role as a personal assistant, listed his previous job as sidekick to Batman. His responsibilities weren't crime fighting, but Batcave maintenance and Batarang inventory management. His reason for leaving? Creative differences over the utility of glitter and smoke bombs. Even the Dark Knight has to deal with HR issues. 72. My greatest weakness is applause. That's what one applicant wrote. It turns out his previous job was professional mourner for hire at funerals, where his core skill was generating authentic-looking grief on demand. In sales, he admitted, applause might accidentally trigger his funeral face. 73. Under references, one candidate simply listed, "Frank, the ficus tree in my old office." He claimed the tree would vouch for his calm demeanor and steady, silent growth. The recruiter, out of sheer curiosity, called the old company. The receptionist just said, "Oh, you mean Frank? Yeah, he's in the corner. Doesn't say much." What do you even do with that information? 74. A candidate for a productivity consultant role made a startling claim. He had invented the concept of meetings that could have been an email. He wasn't even joking. He presented it as a groundbreaking innovation in corporate inefficiency and argued his expertise made him uniquely qualified to identify and eliminate them. For a hefty fee, of course. 75. A man applying for a job in accounts payable claimed he was a cyborg from the year 2342, sent back to observe our primitive financial systems. He listed proficiency in all known Earth currencies and 3 from the Andromeda Galaxy. His only listed weakness? The office Wi-Fi interfered with his temporal navigation, causing him to occasionally file invoices from last Tuesday or from 200 years in the future. 76. A former Michelin star restaurant critic applied to be a school janitor. The reason for the dramatic career change? He was completely burned out from the high-pressure world of gourmet food. The school district, intrigued, found his old blog. His final career-ending review for a 3-star restaurant just said, "The napkins were too starchy. 1 out of 5 stars. I'm done." 77. Under the skill problem-solving, one applicant elaborated, "Expert at creating problems for others to solve, thereby fostering an environment of teamwork and collaborative growth." That's not a skill, that's just a confession of being a terrible employee. The punchline? He was applying to be a team-building exercise coordinator. 78. A man applying for a librarian position insisted he was the reincarnation of William Shakespeare. His proof? An ability to speak exclusively in iambic pentameter when stressed. The manager tested this, asking him about a $5 late fee. His alleged response, "To pay or not to pay, this paltry sum? A question that doth vex my very soul." 79. One resume listed the applicant's current job as professional apologizer for the nation of Canada. His listed duties included saying sorry on behalf of citizens who failed to do so during minor social infractions. He said he was seeking a more confrontational role, which is why he was applying to be a parking enforcement officer in New York City. Can you even imagine a more extreme career change? 80. The most bizarre hobby I've ever seen on a resume has to be competitive elevator riding. The candidate claimed to have mastered the art of pushing the door close button at the precise millisecond to spite someone running to catch it. He listed this as proof of his timing, efficiency, and ruthless decision-making abilities. 81. A failed magician applied for a project manager position. Under skills, he listed making large budgets disappear and sawing assistants in half metaphorically through poor resource allocation. At least he was self-aware. He said his greatest strength was misdirection, which is probably exactly what you don't want in a project manager. 82. Under reason for leaving, an applicant wrote, "My dog told me it was time for a change." In the interview, he insisted his dog, a beagle named Gus, was a highly intuitive career coach. He even pulled out a tiny paw print signed letter of recommendation from the dog. And you have to wonder, who do you call to check that reference? 83. One woman listed her emotional support animal on her resume, not as a note, but as a co-applicant. The animal? A rock. A simple gray rock named Kevin. She claimed Kevin brought a grounding presence to the team and had extensive experience in being stable and supportive. 84. A young man applying for a tech support role claimed he was a former non-player character, or NPC, from a popular open-world video game. His reason for leaving? He got tired of repeating the same 3 lines of dialogue to every adventurer who walked by. He was seeking a job with more varied and dynamic conversational opportunities. 85. We've all used GPS, but have you ever met the voice? One applicant claimed to be the original female voice of the Garmin GPS system. She said she was looking for a quieter role after years of passively aggressively telling people to make a U-turn when possible. Her biggest pet peeve? People who don't listen when she says recalculating. 86. Here's a reason for leaving that's both tragic and hilarious. One applicant wrote, "My imaginary friend and I had a falling out over creative differences, and the office wasn't big enough for the both of us. When the hiring manager asked who got to stay, he just sighed and said, 'Steve did. He was better at Excel.'" 87. A woman applying to be a meteorologist claims she was a certified weather witch. Her primary skill? Summoning rain during inconvenient outdoor company picnics. She argued it was a powerful negotiation tactic for getting more vacation days. And honestly, she's not wrong. That's a threat every manager would take seriously. 88. Under professional organizations, a candidate listed member of the Flat Earth Society. He was applying for a job at NASA. When asked how he reconciled that, he leaned in and whispered, "They only think I'm here to map the stars. I'm here to find the trapdoor." 89. A man listed his entire professional history as professional sleeper for a mattress company's R&D department. His job was to test the long-term viability of memory foam. He was leaving because he'd become one with the bed and feared HR might start claiming him as office furniture. 90. A candidate for a retail position listed expert in ancient curses as a primary skill. She claimed she could place a minor but deeply annoying hex on rude customers, such as causing them to always be in the slowest checkout line. That's not customer service, that's customer vengeance. And frankly, I'm here for it. 91. A former ghost hunter applied for a job in corporate communications. He said his experience in detecting cold spots and unexplained electromagnetic fields was directly transferable to locating dead zones in office morale. Basically, he swapped haunted houses for haunted break rooms. 92. One applicant's resume included a link to his IMDb page. He was listed as uncredited guy who runs away from the explosion in 3 different action movies. He argued this showed his ability to react decisively under pressure and a deep-seated instinct for self-preservation, both valuable assets in any corporate setting. 93. Some people pad their language skills. This man invented a language. He claimed fluency in Gleepglorp, the native tongue of a species he discovered in his own backyard. He even provided a translation guide defining key business terms like quarterly report and synergy. You almost have to admire the sheer pointless effort. 94. A man applying for a job as a city bus driver listed his previous experience as charioteer for the Roman Empire. He claimed a flawless safety record, except for that one incident during the Gallic Wars, which was totally not my fault. He also noted he was comfortable with aggressive and demanding passengers. 95. Under reason for leaving, a candidate wrote, "I discovered the company's entire business model was a simulation run by hyper-intelligent cats, and I could no longer ethically participate." What's your follow-up question to that? Do you ask about the cats, or do you just quietly slide the resume into the shredder? 96. A woman claimed she was a professional adult for hire, offering services like making dentist appointments for other adults who are too scared to do it themselves, and explaining what a 401k is in a non-judgmental way. She described HR work as just adulting at industrial scale. 97. A candidate for a sous chef role listed his greatest accomplishment as successfully deboning a Thanksgiving turkey using only a spoon and intense rage. He argued this demonstrated his creativity, resourcefulness, and ability to perform under extreme holiday pressure. He sounds less like a chef and more like a threat. 98. The most zen resume I've ever heard of came from a man who listed his only skill as being. Just that. When the manager asked him to elaborate, he smiled and said, "I am the chair, the desk, the stapler. I am everything and nothing, but mostly on time." 99. One applicant, aiming for a job in finance, listed his primary reference as the Nigerian prince who keeps emailing me. He claimed they had a long-standing and very profitable business relationship, and that the prince would vouch for his excellent judgment and unwavering trust in high-yield investment opportunities. 100. Let's finish with an all-timer. A man's resume claimed he was the inventor of the dad joke. He said he was looking for a new challenge after perfecting the art of the pun-based groaner. His cover letter ended with the line, "I'm not saying I'm the best candidate for this job, but I'm pretty sure my resume speaks for itself. Hi, pretty sure, I'm Dad." 101. And finally, the most honest lie of them all. On the line asking for a desired salary, one applicant simply wrote, "Enough to make my ex-partner deeply, deeply regret their life choices." You can't put a number on that kind of motivation. That's not just a salary request. That's a life goal. Now you know. A resume can be your ticket to a dream job, or straight into a padded room. Your turn. What's the weirdest or funniest thing you've ever seen, or would dare to put, on your own resume? Be honest. We will judge, but only a little. If you want more of these wild stories, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. The next list might inspire your future career, or land you on HR's blacklist. And yes, a like counts as your official recommendation for this job.